In today's video, we're going to talk about a sexual communication technique. I'm Alex Robboy, and I'm the founder of sextherapy.com as well as the Center for Growth. I have been in the field for about 25 years, practicing all kinds of therapy. I am a licensed clinical social worker in New Jersey, New Mexico, as well as Pennsylvania. I'm an ASECT approved sex therapist and sex therapist supervisor, and I'm an Imago approved couples counselor. Okay, so let me tell you about this communication technique. For me, this is one of the most essential techniques that you will ever utilize. In my work with couples, I use it as a basic intervention to help people develop the language of love, as well as an assessment tool to see where couples are getting stuck. The ideal couple will be strong in all of the different domains that I'm about to talk to you about. But in my working experience, most people have certain areas that they're really good at, certain areas that they're really developing their skills. And then sometimes based on who they're with, what you love may not be what your partner loves. So the two of you together have to find a technique that is going to be constructive for the two of you. Okay. So the way I like to teach this skill when I'm working with a couple is I will ask them to imagine giving each other a back massage, just a simple back massage, no shirt on, but you certainly could do it with your shirt on, but certainly the rest of your clothing should be on. And one person's going to be the giver and one person's going to be the receiver. And then, of course, at the very end of all of this, we will switch roles. So everybody will have an opportunity to play every single role. So for the very first 5 minutes, I'm going to say to the person who's decided to be the giver, I want you to give the receiver a back massage in any way that turns you on. So for this exercise, I don't really care if the receiver is enjoying the massage. I want you to do it in a way that feels very authentic to you, that you enjoy touching them. And the receiver on this one, I just want you to enjoy it in any way that feels natural to you and pay attention to how your partner enjoys giving. The next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask the giver to now give a massage in a way that you imagine the receiver is going to enjoy. So if you, let's say, hate using really heavy touch, but you know that the receiver loves hard touch, give that receiver really hard touch and do whatever you imagine. And the receiver on this should be just receiving and trying to go along and enjoy themselves. Okay, for the next 5 minutes, we're going to do something a little bit different. The receiver is no longer allowed to make any noises whatsoever. They're only going to be able to express pleasure or displeasure using body language. The giver, I want you to give some very extreme different kinds of touch just to warm up that receiver. And I'm going to have you give, let's say to begin, a very heavy touch. And the receiver, I want you to use your body language to express pleasure or displeasure. And yes, I know your face is smushed into that couch or that bed, and your entire body is going to struggle to give any kind of physical signal. So do the best you can. Pretend you're in the theater. Become very dramatic. The louder your body language is, the easier it is going to be for that receiver, for the giver. So the giver, again, I want you to give a very heavy touch in the beginning, and and look for the receiver's body language. After, 5-10 seconds, switch and do a very, very light touch, as ginger as you possibly can, and see how that receiver is doing in terms of expressiveness. It's okay for you as the giver to say to the receiver, I'm having trouble reading your signals. please be a little more dramatic for me. Okay, now after you've done that initial amount, I want you to really try to focus on just changing the pressure a slight amount or changing the location just slightly, maybe up a little bit to the left, down a little bit to the right, or changing the motion. Again, change the pressure, the location, and the style of touch. And the receiver, just do the best you can in terms of giving feedback. After 5 minutes of this exercise, I'm going to have you switch and I'm going to have you do what I call the A-B game. And now that giver is going to give you two different types of touch. And I want you to say, what do you like better, choice A or choice B? Kind of like going to the eye doctor where they're constantly giving you forced choices. The receiver, I just want you to no longer give body language responses, no moaning, no groaning, no physical signs, and just say choice A or choice B. Whatever the receiver likes better is you're going to now label it as the new choice A, and that giver is going to give a different choice B. So just try to change the touch slightly so that you can get a very clear understanding of what that receiver is enjoying. After you do this for about 5 minutes, I want you to switch to what I call the moan-groan game. Now the receiver, I want you to get as theatrical as you possibly can and really try to do your best to be incredibly vocal. So if you find it very challenging, truly you could moo like a cow, you could cluck like a chicken, but noise is going to be the way that you're going to communicate pleasure and displeasure. So again, as the giver, I want you to give some very dramatic kinds of touch just to warm up that receiver. And then after that, just try to change dramatic parts of the body, of the back, like maybe the upper shoulders, maybe the lower torso, maybe the sides, heavy touch, soft touch, fast touch, slow touch, and see what your partner is liking. Again, I'm going to encourage that receiver to make as many noises as you possibly can so that that giver is getting clear feedback. Okay, then for the last part, I want the receiver to use your words and tell the giver what kind of touch you would like. You could go back and say, do you remember that thing that you were doing? It was on my middle of the back. I don't know, you were near the lowest part of my rib cage and it felt really good. Talk them through. You can say you're getting closer, you're further, harder, softer, but use language and articulate what it is you want. The more articulate you are, the easier that giver is going to have in terms of actually meeting your needs. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to have the two of you switch roles, and now the receiver becomes the giver and the giver becomes the receiver. After you have done this, this is probably one of the most important parts. I want each of you to thank the other person and have the following conversation. I would like the receiver to say to the giver, you made me feel blank during this exercise. And then the giver is going to say, I heard you say that you felt blank during this exercise. Now what I'd like each of you to do is imagine what type of touch the other person liked the best. So you're going to say to your partner, I imagine you liked it best when I used a really heavy touch and I was massaging your low back. Or you might say, I imagine you liked it best when I did the tickly light touch. And then the receiver is going to say, yes, you got it. The receiver is then going to say, the reason I like that kind of touch the best is, and the story that I made up in my mind about that kind of touch is. What that question does is it allows each of you to see what kind of communication was really happening. Did the other person receive clear signals as to the type of touch that you really enjoyed, and were they paying attention? As the receiver, if the giver didn't quite accurately predict what you liked the best, I want you to think about how to be a better receiver in the next round, how to be more vocal, how to use movement better, and to exaggerate all of your responses. The giver, if you were unable to accurately imagine what the other person liked the best, then I want you to really think about, how do I start paying attention a little bit more acutely? And when you're paying attention, maybe you're going to actually have to use a couple of different forms of fact gathering information. You might need to use words. You might need to say, hey, I'm noticing you making some sounds. This is what I think you're trying to communicate. Am I getting it? Or you might say, I notice your left eye twitching. I'm imagining that signal means blah, blah, blah. And then that receiver is going to go ahead and confirm whatever it is or clarify that information to you. The next thing that I want the two of you to do is to have a conversation about what kind of communication technique actually was most effective for each of you. Did you do better with the Moan-groan game? Did you do better with the AB version? Did you do best with basic conversation around what you liked and what you disliked? Did you feel awkward when you were trying to give in a way that felt pleasurable to you? Or were you more awkward when you were trying to do something that you imagined they really liked? And why? If you find this communication technique challenging, that makes sense. A lot of people really struggle with how to talk about sex. And this is an exercise that is meant to be done over and over and over. Repetition is great. Each time you do this, you're going to get a little bit better, and you're going to learn a different nuance about the other person's body. Most people are just responding in how they feel at that particular moment. But you know that if you have just played tennis and you are sore on your right shoulder, you're going to want more attention on your right shoulder. Whereas if you had maybe thrown out your back the other day, you are going to want a different kind of touch. Every day is a different day. And the piece I want you to really take to heart is every 10 years, we have a new body, and people really do change their likes and dislikes over time. What else do you need to know about this exercise? If it lands in a fight, stop and ask the partner what's going on for them. The goal of this is to connect and to understand what is happening, as well as to learn. Now, let's say the two of you have done a phenomenal job and this is super easy and you want to move on to the next level of this. Simply turn over onto your back. And now you're going to do a front massage, and you're going to focus on the chest. Now, when you're doing the chest, do not focus on the nipples for 30 minutes. Most people are going to scream and clock you because it could be too much stimulation. And you really need to think about the entire chest, the front area, the stomach, the sides of the breast, all over. But with that being said, there's probably 5% of the population that just wants pure nipple stimulation and other people don't. Remember, no two individuals are exactly alike, and your job is to discover who they are. Now, let's say this has gone swimmingly well and you're ready for the next stage. Take the same exercises and apply them to the genitals with a digital stimulation or hand massage. If that goes well, you can progress to oral stimulation. If that goes well, you can progress to intercourse. Throughout all of these exercises, the goal is never to have an orgasm. If you find yourself getting close to orgasm, very aroused, stop, take a breather. The focus of this exercise is communication. It's just looking at, do you do better with verbal communication using words? Do you respond to sound? Do you respond better to sight? Again, it's learning about being a giver and a receiver. It's not about orgasm. Maybe on the 20th time that you're actually doing these exercises, if you want to have it end in orgasm, knock yourself out, but you will have already accomplished 19 rounds of this exercise. Reach us at 215-922-5683, extension 100, or you can go to our website, the Center for Growth and Self-Schedule. Have a good day.